The smoke rising over the Middle Eastern desert signals a direct breach of your local grid. The physical destruction of these distant data centers has already compromised the infrastructure you rely on every day. On February 28, 2026, the second Trump administration launched Operation Epic Fury. This massive, coordinated air campaign aimed directly at the Iranian political leadership and their regional military infrastructure. The targeted assassination of Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei fractured the regional power structure, throwing the Middle East into immediate anarchy. His successor, Mojtaba Khamenei, immediately abandoned conventional warfare. Iran activated a decentralized, insurgent-style drone network known as a Mosaic resistance, designed to operate without a centralized command center. This network immediately choked the global supply artery. By mid-March, these decentralized strikes successfully enforced an absolute closure of the Strait of Hormuz, trapping hundreds of massive commercial oil tankers at sea. This triggered a state of systemic insolvency. Systemic insolvency occurs when the destruction of critical resources, like energy and water, permanently outpaces a region's physical ability to recover. The conflict then crossed into the digital realm. Drones directly struck Amazon Web Services nodes in the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain. AWS is a vast network of remote servers that hosts much of the world's internet data. The war had officially reached the global digital silica. Modern urban centers require constant connectivity to these compromised cloud servers to route power, to manage water, and process payments. Because of this total reliance on digital infrastructure, hyper-connected smart cities are currently the most fragile environments on Earth. The physical chokehold on the Strait of Hormuz is absolute. By March 14, 2026, maritime tracking confirmed that commercial vessel traffic moving through the channel had fallen to exactly zero. Look at this map of global export lines. When the flow out of the Persian Gulf severs, the shipment of fertilizers halts instantly. This locks in a massive, delayed physical shock to global food security for the coming months. To break this blockade, the U.S. initiated an Armada Invite strategy. By asking allied navies to escort tankers through the mined waters, the administration aims to globalize the war debt, shifting the physical cost and the risk of sunken ships onto foreign partners. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth has publicly downplayed the severity of this escalation, projecting administrative confidence even as the physical costs to international shipping mount. On the ground, the coalition is supplying Kurdish proxy forces to mount an internal uprising against Tehran. These fighters are being utilized as ablative armor, a disposable layer of physical defense meant to absorb the enemy's attention and resources. This reveals a doctrine of strategic expendability. The coalition is deliberately withholding formal treaties or air support, ensuring these proxy groups can be abandoned cleanly if the uprising fails. To prevent domestic energy shortages, the U.S. Treasury issued waivers allowing the delivery of heavily sanctioned Russian oil. Trading moral positioning for physical fuel confirms the structural failure of the current global trade order. Back home, infrastructure decay is accelerating through an unidentified tactic known as the Salt Typhoon signature. This specific cyberkinetic profile is causing targeted rolling outages across Western utility grids. In this utility schematic, erratic ghost signals poison command and control systems. Operators see authenticated false data, blinding them to the physical faults. This creates a fog of oikos, a complete breakdown of neighborhood awareness. Without reliable telemetry, communities cannot coordinate responses. We are seeing a similar mathematical defeat in the airspace. Sophisticated, multi-million-dollar air defense systems are being quickly exhausted by overwhelming swarms of low-cost, disposable drones targeting soft infrastructure like water desalination plants. This is the complexity trap. When a society's infrastructure is hyper-integrated and reliant on constant digital verification, that very complexity becomes a weapon the attacker turns against them. The militant groups currently enduring this intense conflagration are those who have entirely abandoned digital reliance. They survive by utilizing air-gapped tribal networks that operate completely independently of the internet. Militant actors in the Levant, like the Houthi forces, have successfully insulated their operations from the digital blackout by relying on direct physical lines of command rather than hackable cloud servers. This brings us to Kleronomia, The Greek concept of sovereign inheritance. In a system collapsing under digital friction, reclaiming physical, localized independence is the only viable off-ramp for the individual. The first pillar of this inheritance is securing soma, the physical assets that sustain biological life. This now requires an immediate, urgent transition to tangible, unhackable resources like gravity-fed water systems and stored liquid fuel. The second pillar is fortifying gnosis, your local intelligence. This means relying on community-based knowledge and strong faith-anchored cohesion rather than digital sensors to understand and control your environment. These localized sovereign networks stand in stark contrast to the silicon syndicates. The massive tech monopolies and digital architectures of the West are currently collapsing under the weight of their own intricate, fragile engineering. The clock is running out. You must harden your local logistics and secure your physical assets before the temporary waivers on Russian oil expire and the full shock hits the domestic supply chain. Step out of the digital mirage and into tangible reality. Hold the gate. The thinking is dead. The action is born. Aspasmos and agape.